Yeah, we're doing a mock draft because the Heat currently hold the 11th and 14th pick in the 2025 NBA draft. So I wanted to look at what a perfect mock draft may look like for the Miami Heat. I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports because last night was so bad. The Heat lost a second straight game, this one coming to the Atlanta Hawks. They scored yet 86 points in an absolute embarrassing fashion. This team just lacks talent. They lack offensive structure. They lack a lot of things, and they are far from competing. And they'll likely finish either in the 8, 9, or 10 seed, which is going to be in the play-in. Maybe worse, but there is a possibility that the Heat are definitely picking in the lottery. And if they pick in the lottery, they will hold multiple picks in this draft in all likelihood. And we'll talk about that and where everything stands. But let me know. Are you Team Tank? After last night's horrific display of basketball, are you rooting for wins or losses the rest of the season? It's an honest question that most Heat fans are struggling with right now. Let me know which side you are on. Type your W's for wins. Type your L for losses. Right now, the Heat currently sit with the 11th and 14th pick because their own pick is the 11th pick, which is why the Heat actually have it, because they are technically the 9 seed, which is projected outside the playoffs, and they are behind Phoenix, Sacramento, and Golden State, who are also out of the postseason, but they're in the Western Conference with better winning percentage, and that is why they stay in 11-14. Remember, Golden State's pick is top 10 protected, so if the Warriors make the playoffs or miss the playoffs, but stay between 11 and 14 in the lottery, the Heat will get that pick, which is obviously the most ideal outcome, but it looks like the Warriors will be in the playoffs. But say it ended like this, and the Heat had their own pick at 11, and then the Warriors pick at 14 heading into the draft. This is where things would stand going into the NBA lottery, which is very interesting, right? Because their own pick, 11th, would be kept no matter what. It'd have a 9.4% chance to land inside the top 4, and then a 2% chance to land the number 1 pick. Now, on that 14th pick, it's 2.4% chance to land in the top 4 and 0.5% to land the number 1 pick. Now, it's actually good that that pick would be lower in percentage odds because you want it to stay between 11 and 14, which means if it doesn't move up, it will just be the 14th pick based off the standings right now, which is what you want it to be. But the 11th pick is the one that you want it to move up. And some people are confused, so I do want to clear the air a little bit for the Heat fans that do not understand what protections mean, because I've seen people say that the Heat don't have 2 first-round picks this year. Well, here's how things are, and I want you to listen up. If the Heat miss the playoffs, even if they are the 8 seed or 7 seed but lose both play-in games, if they are not in the postseason, they will be having their own pick. It is a top 14 protected pick, which means if the Heat are picking inside the top 14, they keep their own selection. And with the Warriors pick, it is top 10 protected. So if the Warriors are picking anywhere between 11 on, that goes then to Miami. If the Warriors are somehow inside the top 10 with their own pick this year, then Golden State keeps it, and it gets pushed up to 2026 for Miami. Understand? Hopefully you do. And now with that being out of the way, I want to get into the mock draft that the Miami Heat did go through on today's show. And I got to be honest, I simmed the lottery as we would normally do 5 times. It happened on our live show last night after the Hawks game, and on the 5th time, I said I was going to do it 5 times. On the 5th time, the Heat, not joking, catapulted to the number 3 pick with their own selection. That's how the lottery ended up panning out. Washington and Charlotte ahead of Miami. The Heat with the 3rd pick, somehow jumping from 11 to 3. And then they keep the Warriors pick at 14, so they would be picking 3rd and 14th in this scenario. And that's the dream scenario. If you were somehow able to miss the playoffs and you have 2 picks in this draft, the Warriors pick going to you either late lottery or just outside the lottery, and then your own pick somehow catapulting inside the top of this NBA draft class, that is the perfect scenario for you, and you'd be able to land a top prospect in a big position of need. And let's get to this mock draft now, because Cooper Flagg is the presumed number 1 pick. I have him going to the Washington Wizards. I don't think there's a chance that he is not selected with the number 1 pick. This is where the draft starts at number 2. I have VJ Edgecombe going to Charlotte. I do, and Dylan Harper is the second best player in this draft in my opinion, but they don't need Charlotte, a true guard, to handle the ball alongside LaMelo. They need a connecting piece between LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. I think VJ Edgecombe slotting in as that 2 guard is the perfect fit to create a 3-man trio in Charlotte, which would leave Dylan Harper from Miami at number 3. And I'm not doing this just to do it. I think the Hornets would actually go that way. And Dylan Harper would be the perfect fit for the Miami Heat going forward in the future. Is exactly what the Heat need. And we're going to talk about him as a prospect here in just a second. But excuse me. This is why you subscribe to the channel, is because we're breaking down everything you need to know around the Miami Heat between the draft, injury news, live shows on game days. Hit that sub button for the best coverage on YouTube surrounding the Miami Heat. Harper is my number 2 overall prospect for an absolute reason. He has been dominating the college scene. And even though Rutgers is not a good college basketball team, it is not because of Dylan Harper. It's mostly because they have absolutely no front court where they can't get rebounds, they can't defend the paint, and Harper getting no help outside of Ace Bailey. And you see Harper's numbers statistically, he just stuffs the stat sheet on an absolute ridiculous rate. He's been absolutely incredible for the Rutgers Scarlet Knights this season. And the part that I really like him is that he is a true point guard, but he has that size that is so versatile. He's 6'6", 215, so it's not like he has a light frame like some other guards in this draft class, like Igor Demen. And his wingspan is even more awesome. 6'10", a +4 wingspan. That's not official, but it's rumored to be 6'9.5", 6'10", which obviously gives him a very good size profile. And to me, he's the perfect fit for the Miami Heat. The Heat's biggest need going forward is a true point guard. You have Hero, you have Bam. Everybody else is expendable if we're going to be honest, but if you were going forward with a Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero led Heat organization, you need to add a true point guard that can elevate the floor of this team. Dylan Harper's got the perfect blend of size, a burst, shot creation, and the ability to play make for others that would not only take the pressure off Tyler Hero, but also would help get Bam Adebayo more involved in the offense and pick and rolls. Same thing could be said with Khalil Ware. And Harper can D up a little bit. Is he a good defender? Is he an elite defender? No, but he's got the size profile to be that at the next level. And his advanced numbers offensively are just out of this world. That makes me extremely optimistic about his future in the NBA. A true shooting percentage in college of 59.3%. I like his rates too. It's not like it's 3-point or nothing like you see. He can get to the rim, which he does often, get to the mid-range. Only has a 3-point rate of 37.8%, which means 62.8, whatever it is, percent comes inside the arc. And then the free throw rate is pretty solid as well. He gets to the line at a pretty good mark. And his offensive box score plus minus is plus 7.2. That is 18th in college basketball. It's not the Big Ten, the entire country. He has an offensive box score plus minus of 7.2. And we're going to get to their next prospect that I'm taking at the 14th pick in just a second. But we are sponsored by PrizePicks. Boy, I really like playing PrizePicks on a daily basis. You can even do it collegiately and pick more or less on Dylan Harper, but all you do is pick more or less on 2 or more player stat projections for a chance to win up to 1,000 times your cash on PrizePicks right now. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. They also offer weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. I have an entry for tonight's action in basketball professionally. More than PJ Washington, 16.5 points. More than Jason Tatum, 8.5 rebounds. And then I'll go less than on Bradley Beal, 18.5 points. 3-player entry to win 5 times my money, but based off the way you customize, like I said, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. So join me and the millions of others on PrizePicks. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, let's move over to the 14th pick in the NBA draft, where the Heat are selecting Rasheer Fleming, the forward from St. Joseph's. I am absolutely falling in love with this kid as an NBA prospect. And I, excuse me, will likely be higher than most on Rasheer Fleming at the next level. This kid, to me, has everything to be an elite rotational player in the NBA. Does he have star potential like Dylan Harper does? No, probably not, but he fills a role Miami desperately needs, and if the Heat do have 2 first-round picks and they're able to get a young budding star with their first pick, taking a solid rotational piece like Fleming with their second pick makes a ton of sense to me. He's had a breakout year for the Red Hawks in the A-10, averaging 15 points per game, nearly 9 rebounds, and shooting incredibly efficient from the floor. And that's the thing with Fleming. He's not going to be asked to do a lot. In his role at St. Joseph's, he is clearly just an off-ball finisher and defender. He is not someone that is going to magically become this 3-and-D wing that can handle the ball and also play make for others like a Jason Tatum. That's not his role, but he has a role in the NBA already carved out for him that would fit perfectly in the Heat system. This guy's also got elite measurables, 6'9", 220. He's filled out. He's strong. Once he gets even more strong in an NBA program, that could be dangerous in terms of how strong and physical he could become. And there is a rumored, not official, rumored 7'5" wingspan on Rasheer Fleming. You talk about pure size, athleticism, and strength. Fleming has all 3 phases of that. And the reason why I've started to like Fleming more and more as a prospect is because he knows his role. He knows that he is not the best creator. He doesn't have the best handle. But what he can be at the next level and what he's doing for St. Joseph's right now is being an off-ball play finisher, whether it's getting rebounds offensively or defensively. His offensive rebound putback game is strong. He clears boards on the defensive end, and he is becoming an elite three-point shooter. He's actually improved all 3 seasons of his collegiate career, and he's only 20 years old as well, so it's not like he's an older prospect despite playing 3 years in the A-10. He went 32%, 35%. And now 43% from 3, including increasing his shot attempts from beyond the arc by 1 each year, shooting 4 3-pointers this season, 3 last year, and 2 the year prior. And he is also playing an above-average defense consistently. And when you look at some of his defensive numbers, these parentheses are in the A-10. We showed Dylan Harper's national ranking earlier, but in the Atlantic 10 Conference, he is the 7th best rated defender, 2nd most defensive win shares, 4th best defensive plus minus, and has the 7th highest block percentage. When you have a 6'9", 7'5" wingspan frame, and you have the athleticism that he possesses, it gives you the ability to guard 1 through 5. Now, he probably projects as a stretch 4 or a big 3 in the NBA, but he can switch on to 5s at times for small stretches due to that physicality that he possesses in wingspan. Fleming can do it defensively, he can do it offensively, and speaking of the offensive end, I know we're talking about defense. If you watch his highlights, which I would recommend going to do right now after this video, when you watch his jump shot off the catch, it looks like Michael Porter Jr. Is it as good? Is he going to be as good as an offensive player as MPJ? Probably not. But when you put the 2 jumpers side by side, I'm having a hard time differentiating the 2. That's how much I like Rasheer Fleming's jump shot, as well as pairing that up with his size, defense, athleticism. Boy, oh boy, would this be a great fit off the bench for the Miami Heat going forward. All right, you saw the mock draft. Grade how I did in this Heat mock draft. First one. With the 2 picks, I figured it would be a fun segment to do middle of the season here. A, B, C, D, or F. Obviously, it is unlikely that the Heat ultimately get the 3rd and 14th pick in the draft, but in this lottery simulation, why not have some fun? Grade how I did if this was ultimately the case. And I want to close out the show with this statement. I would be absolutely thrilled if the Heat got the 11th and 14th pick, just straight up. If they ended up with the 11th and 14th pick, nothing changed in the lottery, and they had 2 late lottery picks, I'd be happy because you could still get a Fleming at 14 paired up with a Jeremiah Fears at 11. Or you could go in a different way of maybe Nolan Traore, the guard from France, a Liam McNeely, a Colin Murray-Boyles from South Carolina. You go in many different ways, because you could get your point guard and you can get someone else. And that's really all I want, right? Like, if you can look into a pick and get a top 5 selection where you can get a Jonas, a Bailey, a Edgecombe, a Harper, that'd be great. But if the Heat can come out of this draft with a good, solid young point guard that can build for the future, as well as an athletic wing that can help your rotation right away, but for the future, I'd be jumping with joy. And I think the Heat have a good opportunity to either make a splash trade or infuse this roster with good young talent in a loaded NBA draft class that has a lot of good talent in the lottery. So hopefully Miami ultimately ends up with 2 first-round picks, but they will likely get one, at least with the Warriors pick. All right, hit that sub button because we will have you covered on a daily basis around the Miami Heat. Live shows for each game, videos in between, short form content as well. Join the channel for the top YouTube coverage surrounding the Miami Heat.